So here's a sound check. And welcome, and hi, April. Welcome to Kim Tang COVID Studio Support. And I want to tell you a little bit what this is and how it came about. It's the simplest matter that I wanted to really find my contribution that would really be authentic to me and my teaching in the current landscape. And of course, I support a lot of people in their home practice and in their expansion. And so I wanted to make a move to support the communities that support you. And so, as you know, the host and beneficiary of this Kim Tang COVID Studio Support is Adam and Eva with Masterlab in Canada. And now I also want to say this, that next week is April Sammartino with Moxie Yoga Works in Colorado, and she's actually on with us today. And so if there's any information that I reference where we are not complete and I say, oh God, let's talk about that next time, then just jump in with April at Masterlab and we'll do it like that. I do want to tell you it is a donation-based clinic. I feel comfortable speaking as a contributor that if you are able to donate, please donate if you are able to, because 100% of your donations go to Masterlab for this event. It is being recorded. It will go in my library. It will be available to them. They own the content to use however they'd like. So I have just primarily specified that the topics that we cover are spine twists. However, there are a lot of moving parts when it comes to a body and the way that it twists. And I had a chance to just have a quick chat with Adam beforehand, and he mentioned to me some things that he might like to consider in the conversation and in the practice drills. And so that actually is where we will begin. At some point, we have such a great intimate group, and you know that my jam really is the personal connection between individuals. So at some point, I would even invite you to just unmute yourselves collectively and we'll have an interactive session. So let me tell you what to expect. It's going to be a lot of kind of educational content, but it will be followed up by what I call drills. And in these drills, I do what I call break the posture into pieces and put them under a microscope. So I show you exactly, and I do mean exactly, what position to be in, where the leverages are, what to contract, what to relax, and most importantly, always why it matters. Because when you know why it matters, then the onus is on you to be able to do it that way. Hi, Sarah. How are you? Mwah, mwah. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for being here and for supporting Masterlab in this way. I have some fire hazard abatement going on outside. I hope that that sound is not too distracting. Can you all hear me? Is it okay? Just thumbs up. Okay, fantastic. So before we get started, is there anyone here that has an injury that I need to know about? Anything going on with your low back, with your discs, with your knees, with your hips?
I might have some diastasis. It's only my second time doing yoga after birth. I don't know.
Fantastic. Okay, fantastic. And I should tell you right now that I'm available to you guys. And so as you recover and things are coming along, contact me and reach out to me if you want to have that type of a conversation further on. So it should be okay for what we're doing today. So just pay attention to how you feel. And thank you for letting me know. And congratulations on giving birth. Actually, I just got off online. My son, David, he was the 2009 Youth World Champion. Today is his online commencement ceremony from UC Santa Cruz. So I just actually watched him graduate. So from birth through college graduation, yeah, definitely. So anyway, here's where I want to start the conversation. Oh, and I need to gather some information to know how far we're going to go with this so that I can plan our time really wisely. How many of you can comfortably sit in lotus? Anyone? Okay, so Tina, keep your hand up. Sarah, oh wait, Jonathan, did you say yes? Keep your hand up. Kind of sit in lotus. Okay, and April, yes. Okay, and Elena, have you ever tried to sit in lotus? Go ahead and unmute yourself if you don't mind. There you go.
Sorry. May I ask you to remind me what lotus looks like? I'm not sure I know.
Oh,
is it like this?
It's cross-legged with the right leg first and then the left.
Oh, yeah, I can do that. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So I think that we might begin. Here's what I want to do. Just roughing out my plan, because I'm never rigid with the format ever. Whatever presents organically is what we talk about, and I always plan for what I call spontaneity and specificity. So I want this to be as specific and personal to you and your bodies and your practice as it can possibly be. And that's why I love having these small groups. So no two sessions are ever alike in that way. So knowing how many of you are sitting in lotus, what I want to talk about is tree pose, so that we're treating the hip posture like a hip posture, because that'll be more relevant when we get into lotus, which is a straight shot to full spine twist. Because please realize and recognize that tree pose itself is quite literally a standing balancing lotus prep, is it not? And so it becomes very relevant. So first I'm going to stand up and we're going to talk about tree pose. And the beauty of that is that then next week, since April's here, we could take that ball and run with it after she's received all this content. The next thing that I want to do is talk about twisting as a range of motion. And I need to talk about traction as the foundational range of motion for every other direction you can go in. And then the last thing I want to talk about before we get busy is what I'm going to call bone joints 101, in this case specifically your elbows. And then we're going to get into some twisting drills, and I even hope to have time to show you literally, Eva and Adam, the connections, the correlations, the straight shot comparisons between all 6 twists that are now approved by the International Yoga Sports Federation. That's really cool to kind of look at what the differences are and what the requirements of the body are with respect to each of the 6 different twists. So I hope to accomplish all of that in the next, I'm going to say, did you give me like an hour and a half? Is that, yeah, okay, so I'll have to talk super fast to make that happen. But, you know, we'll just get as far as we can in the time that we have. But I really would like to address each of you on an individual level. So the first thing I want to talk about is tree pose. So just raise your hand and keep it up if this applies to you. Does tree pose hurt any of your knees? Do you ever feel like your knee is being tweaked in the posture? Or is everybody's knees are perfectly fine? Both knees are fine in all postures. Okay, incredible. Then I don't think we'll expand upon that. Now let's start talking about twisting. There are 5 ranges of motion of the body, and the first and most important one is what I'm going to call traction. And traction you could just as easily call stretching. And the reason that I call that a range of motion is because I've now literally defined every single posture according to range of motion of the spine. And since there are stretching poses, and even and especially in our practice, so we have the Padahastasana, the standing separate leg intent stretching pose, and the Paschimottanasana, and even half tortoise is a stretching pose. Since we have those as postures, I call that a range of motion. It requires contraction. It's not a natural state of being. But I am going to tell you that traction, which is what I'm going to call, now just like if I start talking way too fast, like, you know, like put a hand up and say, slow down, you know, but there, I just want to cover so much. Traction is what I'm going to call using your strength to create space between bone joints in the spine. And Adam, the reason that I'm mentioning this is because traction then becomes the basis of every other range of motion. Because before you're going to do lateral flexion to the right or to the left, before you're going to back bend, before you're going to forward round, and especially before you're going to twist, you have to actually have space in between bone joints to push the range of motion into. So far, so good? So now, understanding that there are, you know, these, I'm going to call it laws of nature. There are these equals and opposites through which I always teach. I'm going to introduce a concept to you that I call push down to push up, push down to push up. And I'm going to tell you that we need this in our spine twist. And what that is going to be, that push down, is going to be the importance of stretching your IT band and getting what I'm going to call your front hip down on the floor so that you have level across the pelvis, so that you have the ability to traction the spine up from the level pelvis. Your pelvis being your center of gravity and your seat of mobility. So it's very, very important that your front hip is down in your twist. And that is what goes wrong most often in all twists, is that the front hip is not down, the front hip IT band is tight, and there are ways that we compensate to avoid getting what I'm going to call what you need, where you need, when you need, which is that deep stretch in the front hip in the form of your spine twist. So that will be a very important awareness awareness you need to have as we start to do the drills. Because, oh yeah, I should tell you this, because I can explain to you on the level of intellect and you can understand what I'm saying and you can say, but I haven't actually taught you until I help you find a feeling that you can reproduce. So when you can find a feeling and reproduce it, you have what I call knowing in your tissues, and that is when I feel that I have taught you. So I'm gonna ask you today to feel some things through these drills. And I am gonna say, no matter how deep you are, I'm going to ask you to feel things that likely you've never felt before. And so since I said that, is anyone in here doing full spine twist, which is the spine twist in full lotus? Okay, beautiful. Yeah, so you're all going to feel something. There's no doubt about that. I like it like that. So Tina, you really light up on the screen. Thank you for your presence. It's beautiful. So now there's another thing that I want to tell you. And that is, we have to look at your elbows, because this is a little thing that I noticed along the way that matters to me a lot. It's kind of like something that to my way of thinking is going wrong with the way that we are teaching the posture. So let's see, we've covered traction, why the hip down matters. Now we're going to get into the elbows. We talked about space, and then we get into the posture. So I want you to watch me, and then I want all of you to do it. So I'm going to give you a quick and simple formula. I call it Bone Joints 101. And let me just stand up. I think that you're going to be able to hear me still when I stand up, just to get everyone on the same page. So watch this. You have just give me a thumbs up or nod your head. Can you guys still hear me? Yeah, okay, thanks. You have a shoulder joint and you have a hip joint. And these are the same types of joints and they function nearly identically. They're called a ball and socket joint. Now from the shoulder, you go to the elbow, and from the hip, you go to the knee, and these are called your hinge joints. They are the same type of joint, and they function virtually identically. And then when you go from the elbow to the wrist, and you go from the knee to the ankle, these are called your saddle joints. These are a hinge joint with a rotation function. And they are the same type of joint and they function virtually identically. And the reason I'm telling you this is not only because we're about to look at what goes wrong with your spine twist with respect to your grip and your elbows, but also because I am always teaching you in a big picture concept. And so what I want to tell you is that when I'm talking to you about your shoulders, I'm pretty much always talking to you about your hips as well. When I'm talking to you about your elbows, I'm pretty much always talking to you about your knees as well. And when I'm talking to you about your wrists, I'm pretty much always talking to you about your ankles as well. So if you understand the things really well, you can explain them in the simplest of terms. And then you can just translate the concept across the board to other postures with similar bone joints. So far, so good? So now, when I said to you that your elbows and knees are hinge joints, what I want to tell you is there's a little sticky point there, and that is that they are hinge joints that have a screwing action. So in other words, the ability to actually turn in and turn out. And by the way, my resource for this comes from Leslie Kaminoff Yoga Anatomy. He's one of the co-authors of the white hardback text Anatomy of Hatha Yoga. So what I tend to do is take his really simple descriptives and take it to the mat and show you how it matters, why it matters, and when it matters in this way. So let me show you what this means. First, I'm going to get on my hands and my knees, and I'm going to put my hands on the floor, hands shoulder width, 5 fingers spread, wrist centered on the palm, and the body weight equally distributed on my palm the same. So what I'm asking you to look at here are my elbows. And this is I'm going to introduce what I'm going to call the line of agreement from my shoulder to my elbow to my wrist. And I'm going to say this is the line of agreement between bone joints. But now I want to show you that I can take the inside of the elbow and actually very dramatically, I can turn it all the way front facing. Can you see that? And then I can turn it back to the line of agreement. And then I can take the outside of the elbow and turn it all the way to the front. And you can see that's anterior rotation of the shoulder, of the deltoid joint, but I am not commanding it from the shoulder. I'm commanding it at the elbow. So everybody get on your hands and knees and put your hands in position, shoulder width, 5 fingers spread, wrist centered on the palm with the body weight equally distributed, all over the hand palm the same, and putting your hands on the floor. I want you to find this line of agreement from the shoulder to the elbow to the wrist. And let me just have a peek at you all. Yeah, okay, yeah, good, Jonathan. And nearly there, yes, Marla, I can, yeah, you're already turned in a little bit. So everybody, I want you to take the inside of the elbow and I want you to be deliberate about turning it all the way front facing. Can you see that? And show me that. Oh, now Tina, your lining up is a little bit hyperextended. So I'm gonna use you as the demonstrator. And now go back to the line right here and now turn it all the way out so that you have that internal rotation of the deltoid joint. And now go back to the line. This is a yes, and now turn it all the way front facing, and now turn it back to the line. This is a yes, and now turn it all the way out with that internal rotation. Back to the line, and inside of the elbows front facing, and back to the line, and the outside of the elbows turned all the way out. Now, let me show you, yeah, good. Let me show you why that matters. Because typically I have a partner here to demonstrate with, so it's a little tricky, but I think you're gonna get it. If I am here, this is the line of agreement from the shoulder to the elbow to the wrist. And what I wanna tell you is that if someone were to come along and apply a force here, it would not be a problem. Because the arm as a hinge joint is actually designed to bend that way. But watch this. If I took the inside of the elbow and I turned it all the way front facing, can you see that? Now, if I turned it all the way front facing like this, which is what I showed you on the floor, like this, can you see that? So this is the position I'm in. And if I came under it, you would know with all certainty, if I applied from underneath with the elbow turned in that direction, you would cringe. Or you would say, oh God, don't do that. You would know that the elbow is simply not designed to bend that way. Now, let me tell you, this actually is one little thing that goes wrong with our grip in the spine twist. I'm gonna call it leveraging a hyperextension. And you're gonna know it now that I said it. So now that I've said it, we're going to sit down. April, I love you. I miss you. We're going to sit down and start looking at this posture. I'm going to get up close and personal with this posture, and we're going to break it into pieces. I call it putting it under the microscope, and I want to show you all the moving parts. I'm going to show you why I showed you what I showed you about the elbow. I'm going to show you why I showed you what I showed you about the hip. And I'm going to show you how to get to what you need, where you need, when you need, which is a deep stretch in your IT band, in your spine twist, in this posture right now. Fair? Here we go. So the first thing I want to do is show you a twist and what tends to go wrong. This would be, let's see, there. Now, this would be a very correct setup for a spine twist from this perspective of the front portion of the posture. So what I want to show you is this ankle needs to be kind of exactly aligned with the patella, the front of the ankle in line with the knee. Now, frequently we compensate for the tight front hip by letting the foot slide this way or by letting the foot slide this way so that there's a gap between the knee and the foot with the weight on the knife edge. I'm going to show you that from a different angle in a moment. There's another thing that goes wrong right here, and that is that people tend to overwrap on the grip. So the hands go all the way under the knee, the wrist is bending, and then when they try to sit up tall, they're actually pulling the knee up off the floor. So there's a gap here between the knee and the floor with the wrist bending. And I do want to tell you that the proper grip is not only the front of the ankle in line with the patella, but also the wrist straight and centered. Now, you might have noticed two different things, or at least one. The reason that I showed you about the grip. Now, at some point, our teaching changed. And it changed to say, to slide the hand in between the knee and the ankle And what I want you to see here is that now, you see why I showed you about the elbows, the hinge joint with a screwing action. When you're actually pushing back on a tight IT band with the elbow ostensibly in this position, now that is the equivalent of leveraging your hyperextension, which is what's happening right here. So when we start doing that, I'm actually going to ask Tina to show me that, because she's got a hypermobile range of motion in the elbows. Now, there's another thing that does go wrong, and that is that when this hip is tight and you try to push it down, this grip slides to front facing. That's like a you know, direct indication of a tight IT band. So let me like group up all the information I just offered. Front facing is a direct indication of a tight IT band. The foot sliding this way is a direct indication of a tight IT band. And this is also a direct indication of a tight IT band, which is what we are going to get to. We need a wrist that is centered in front facing with the foot in the proper position, and the line of agreement, straight down the line from the shoulder through the elbow, through the wrist. So here's the, oh yeah, one more thing I have to show you before we start. Here's the foot. It's flat on the floor with the body weight equally distributed, all over the toes of the foot the same. The ankle in line with the patella. Now I need to talk to you about this shin line. We don't typically call it out that way in class at all. But if this foot is flat on the floor and properly placed with the body weight equally distributed here, then in an ideal fully developed posture, this shin line is vertical with the front hip down and the spine in traction, twisting. Now, watch this. A twist in its very simplest form is moving from this to this. And let me show you what I mean by that. Right now, my pelvis is square to you and my shoulders are square to you. So here's my hips and here's my shoulders. And if I turn my shoulders this way, now I'm twisting. So that's a twist by definition. It's a very simplified view so that you can see what's about to happen here when we add the lower body configuration that I just went through point by point. So when you bend the knee, right foot up and over left knee cornerwise, heel touch a knee, foot flat on the floor, my pelvis right now, it's still square to you. It's still facing you with my foot in the proper position, with my shin line vertical. And now I take the shoulders and I turn them this way, like this. Now, what you can see in this position is that any number of things can and do go wrong. And that is that this hip comes up and the body crouches. And so people are frequently like this, and like this. And when they try to actually get this hip down, that's when the things go wrong. Either the foot slides forward, or the shin line is here because the hip is tight, or the grip slips out. So all of those, I'm just trying to show you from different angles, are all indications of the same thing. The hip is tight. So now back to that twist where the shoulders are in line this way and the pelvis is in line this way. Let me show you something here. If I'm twisting, I'm going to do the other side. If I'm twisting with my foot flat, my shin line vertical, my hips are square to you, and I'm going to turn and twist the shoulders. What I want you to see now is the line that connects my right shoulder to my right knee. So remember, in that proper grip, here's the line of agreement with the wrist straight centered over the kneecap. And what you can see now is that my right shoulder is connected to my right knee by virtue of my right arm. It's a straight shot. And what I need now is this left hip down with the left knee on that side of the line that connects the shoulder and the hand. So are you seeing the mechanics and the function? And this grip with the right hand on the right knee is our opportunity to stretch the hip, because we push the knee back with the help of the elbow. So the hip is down, the stomach and the spine stretch up, and we push the knee back. And so that is going to give us the leverage to get the therapeutic benefit for which the posture is intended, which, by the way, is not only space in the spine through which we express the range of motion of twisting, but more as importantly, that stretch in the front IT band. So far, so good? Okay, good, because we're about to do that. So let me see. I want to have all of you turn to the right, please, and you'll bend your right knee under and then left foot up and over right knee cornerwise, heel touch knee foot flat on the floor. Now there's a caveat here in the drill. So yeah, Sarah, switch sides. So stay facing the right. No, you're good. Stay facing the right and bend your right knee under, and Elena, turn to your right, please, so that we're all speaking the same language. So everyone turn to face the right, bend your right knee under, and bring your left foot up and over right knee cornerwise. Okay, good. Yes, April. Yes, Jonathan. Yes, Elena, you don't have to turn your back to me. Just give me a really clean side view if you can, Elena. Thank you. And Marla, yes, Tina. So I can't actually see your feet, Marla. It would be really helpful if I could see a little bit of ground. Now, oh, perfect. Now there's a caveat here, and this is super, super, super important, because I'm trying to help you find and feel exactly what you need. And I do mean exactly. So I don't want you to have any what I call compensations when you're doing this drill. So here's what I mean by that. You're going to place that left foot exactly so that the ankle is in line with the right knee, with the foot flat on the floor, and your shin line vertical. And even if you need to pick up, like, yes, Jonathan, even if you need to pick up that left hip to get the right foot, the left foot flat on the floor with the shin line vertical, I want you to do that. And I don't want you to let that left foot slip, and I don't want you to let that left foot slide. And so no compensations, none. No, for this drill, I don't actually want you to get what we would call the proper grip in your spine twist. I'm just going to ask you to play with something. So watch me as I do the drill, and then I'm going to watch you guys do it. And then we're actually going to add on to it after that. Now, remember why I told you, how I told you that according to the laws of nature, you have to push down to push up, which is you have to have your pelvis level so that you can traction the spine out of it, traction being the basis of every other range of motion. So we need that front hip down. Don't do it yet. I'm gonna help you find that in the drill. So you guys are all turned to the right with your right knee under, the left foot over, and here's what I want you to do. Don't change this. Lean back, stretch up really tall, and I want you to get over your left outer thigh. And I have my palms flat on the floor with my fingers front facing. Yeah, fantastic. And in this position, make absolutely certain that your left foot is flat on the floor with the shin line vertical. And so if your shin line is already angling this way, then I'm going to want you to actually pick up the hip to get that shin line vertical, get up and over the top of it so that your palms are flat on the floor with your fingers front facing. Now this is definitely going to help you find the feeling that you need to start with. So it'll be like this. I want you just to push your left hip down, push into straight arms, and suck your stomach in, sit up tall through the spine. So I'm just going to call it left hip down, sit up tall, left hip down, sit up tall, left hip down, sit up tall, and one more, left hip down, sit up tall. Let me show you this from a different view so you can see what I'm getting at here. So, you know, obviously I have space in my hips to be able to do the posture, but let me show you what goes wrong. So frequently the hip is a little up and the spine is a little crouchy. So what I'm asking you to do here is that lean into the left hip. So now my pelvis is level and I'm going to sit up tall through the spine. So left hip down, sit up tall. Left hip down, sit up tall. Left hip down, sit up tall. One more. left hip down, sit up tall. All right, so let me watch you guys move through your bodies, just starting with that as the foundation. Jonathan, can you tip your camera down just a teeny so I can actually see the contact with the floor? So far, it's looking good. We're gonna build on it. Yeah, Marla, yeah, okay, do it. And go ahead, April. Let me see you all lean back onto your left hand and then stretch up nice and high with the right, get up and over the top of the left thigh with your palms flat on the floor and your fingers front facing. Okay, good. Tina, just point your both fingers toward me, both hands toward me. Yeah, okay, good. And now everybody lean into your left hip, suck your stomach in and sit up very tall through your spine. Good. Yes, Sarah, that's a good sit up tall. Left hip down, sit up tall. Yes, Elena. Left hip down, sit up tall. Yes, Jonathan. Left hip down, sit up tall. Gorgeous, April. And then Joanne, I know you're there. Your camera's not on, but I know you know the drill. And then Adam and Ava. So Adam, see your shin line? Your shin line is at that diagonal. That's what I don't want. So Adam, give me a front view of you. Turn so that you're giving me the front view. Bend your left knee, right. You're doing your left knee first. Okay, everybody else had turned to the right and done the right knee first, right? Yeah, okay, you guys are switching sides. That's fine. So give me that front view. Get all the way up and over and put your palms flat on the floor with your fingers facing Eva. Yeah, okay. Now here's the point. So here's what I want you to do. This is fantastic. I'm actually going to try to, let's see, I'm not the host. Can we spotlight you? So Eva, would you do that? Spotlight Adam for me. Perfect. And you guys watch this. And then I think I want to go to Tina after this. All right. Thank you, Jonathan. Okay. So Adam, here's what I want you to do. Hike your left hip up. Hike the hip way up. And get up and over the top with your right side body. Traction the spine, sit up tall, get up and over the top of it. Okay, and then try. Let me see if you are able to put your palm flat on. Oh, you're getting there. And now in this position, you can see that there's where the work lies. That's exactly, I'm going to call it what you need, where you need, when you need. So push your left hip tall and sit up really tall through your spine, or left hip down and tall through the spine. Okay. I'm going to give you a different permission. So Adam, I want you to do it a little differently. I want you to go like this. I'll give you the same front view. So if you're unable to really get your palms flat for the left hip down, sit up tall, then I want you actually to just take your hand here or here and push the hip down and sit up. Push the hip down and sit up. Push the hip down and sit up. Push the hip down and sit up through the spine. So it's not one or the other. It's not one then the other. It's both and both at once the whole time. So let's see you really work that thigh across the body and bring your left hip down and sit up really tall through your spine. So stomach in, diaphragm in and up, crown stretch up. Yeah. And you can even kind of bend the elbow and use your hand because we're about to pull that thigh across. That's when you're going to find what you need in your twist. This is going to be the start of something very, very good. So Adam, yes to that. And we're going to come back to you for sure. Okay. And now Eva, can you go to Tina as a spotlight? And Tina, let me see what you're doing here. Go ahead, perfect with your right leg and then left foot up and over and keep that shin line very vertical. Yeah, and then bring your right arm so you can prop yourself up with your left hand. Get way, now right there, way up and over it. Way up and over it, yeah. And put your palms flat on the floor with your fingers facing me. Okay, yeah, okay, now, so what I would want everyone to see is when I say we get like the little crouchy spine and the shin line that is no longer vertical. So can you feel what I'm saying, Tina? So what I want you to do is just bend your right arm and put your hand on the outside of the knee where your elbow is. Just put your hand where your elbow is. Yeah, there you go. And now lean into your left hip and sit up really tall through the spine. So lean into your left hip. And what I mean by that is just to bring the pelvis to level. So the body weight is equally distributed over your pelvis the same. So keep that left hip down. Tina, can you see that you've compensated with your foot and your shin line is no longer vertical? So bring your left hip up. Bring your left hip up, 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 to really place that left foot with the body weight equally distributed. Keep that shin line vertical, even at the expense, especially at the expense of your left hip coming up And now take your left knee with the right hand, the way you had it before. Keep that shin line vertical, keep it vertical. And now in that position, holding that shin line at vertical with your right hand, push your left hip down and sit up tall. Push your left hip, oh, yep. So left hip meaning, lean into it, meaning body weight equally distributed over both hips the same. Stomach in, tractioning the spine. It's a push down to push up. It's the way to traction according to the laws of equals and opposites. So again, we see that the shin line is losing that vertical. So the stretch that needs to be had there is right there in the IT band. So before we move on, thank you, excellent, and excellent visuals. Before we move on, are you guys with me so far? Because even if your ITs are long enough that you got that, now we're gonna add on to that. So it's gonna be just simply another move that we add. You guys saw, I keep calling it out that that shin line is vertical, the shin line is vertical. Well, why does that matter? Because it matters because when we're trying to twist, which is by definition, my pelvis is facing you, but my shoulders are at the perpendicular. When we're trying to twist, the things that go wrong are the hip comes up and the spine crouches. We just saw it twice now. And what we're trying to do is the hip down so that we can traction and then get the full range of motion. And this shoulder and this knee need to line up with this knee on that side with this hip down. All these things need to come together. So we compromise all over the place. We compromise here by letting that shin line lose its vertical. And that's another way of not requiring that the hip stretches. So you want to keep, even if you have to bring the hip up, you're going to keep the shin line vertical with the body weight equally distributed on the foot so that you can do that left hip down, sit up tall. From here, or from here in this case, to here. Left hip down, sit up tall with this knee clearing the line that connects the shoulder to the right knee. So what we're going to do now is what I'm going to call work it across. Because if this shin line is vertical, is not vertical, it's at a diagonal, but we need this knee over there to be able to clear this line from the shoulder to the knee with the hip down and the spine straight. We need it that far, with the hip down and the spine straight, with the hip down and the spine straight and twisting, with the hip down and the spine straight. So now what we're going to do is get a deep, deep stretch right here. We're going to add one more move to the drill. So watch this. I already had you do this. Place the foot, do not let it move, shin line vertical, even if you have to bring the hip up to keep this shin line vertical. Lean back, get all the way up and over it. I had you just start right here with left hip down, sit up tall, left hip down, sit up tall, left hip down, sit up tall. But now I'm gonna have you do this. I want you to bend the elbow and just place your hand on the outer thigh, and you'll be leveraging this knee with the elbow placement. So I'm going to call it this. Watch me, and then I want to watch you all do it. I'm going to show you from the side, and I'm going to show you from the front. Left hip down, sit up tall through the spine, and with the elbow leveraging the knee, work it across. The hip down, sit up tall, work it across. Left hip down, spine in traction, and work that knee across. Left hip down, sit up tall, and work it across. Left hip down, sit up tall, and work the knee across. So what that looks like from the front, remember, many of you are here with the shin line that's not vertical, so the spine is now a little crouchy to get the hip down. And what I'm asking you to do is this. Left hip down, sit up tall, and work the knee across with the left hip down, with the spine in traction. We're trying to stretch right here to get this knee on the other side of the line that connects the shoulder to the knee, with the wrist straight and centered, by the way. You can see now why I started the talking point when I told you that this is tight, so there's a diagonal here. And what that does is it forces that grip. That's why the grip becomes wrist bent and front facing. This hip is tight, And rather than you getting what you need where you need, which is the stretch here, you just let everything unravel a little bit in the way of the grip becomes wrist bent and front facing, and or the shin line and the foot slips that way or that way. So what I want you to do from this perspective is place the foot, keep the shin line very vertical, lean back on your left arm, get way up and over it here, and then you're going to go through the 3 moves this time. Left hip down, sit up tall through the spine, and use your elbow to work that knee across. Now, I am demonstrating for you kind of an extreme range of motion. It need not go that far. It's just that, you know, I have that full spine twist ability. But I do want to tell you something, and this is going to be very important when you feel this. In order to work the knee across, because watch how far I can work it across. It only needs to clear, this line right here with this line of agreement, this hip down and your spine up. But I can get it really, really, really far with the hip down and the spine up. And what that requires, which is very important because you might not even like key in on this if I don't say it out loud. It requires that you relax right here. There's a groin muscle right here that has to relax to let this go all the way across. So pay attention to not only the stretch in the IT, but the relaxation on the inside to allow it to go across. So now could I have you all demonstrate that? Show me that. So April, wow, I love all of you already. Yeah, perfect. I can't see like your feet knee configuration, Elena. Jonathan, it's a great shot for you. Sarah, great shot. Marla, great shot. Tina, yes, great shot. And Adam and Eva, great shot. So still on the right side, bend your right knee under. Left foot up and over, right knee corner west. So just switch sides, Sarah. Bend your right, and yeah, Marila, we're still on the right side. But can you do it facing your right, Sarah, still same side so that you don't turn your back to me? Thanks. And can you turn April also so you don't turn your back to me? And actually just switch legs, Tina. So right knee still under. Facing your right with your right knee under. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Okay, now you guys go. So get your foot set in the proper position with the foot flat on the floor and the shin line absolutely vertical. And even and especially if you need to bring your left hip up to keep that shin line vertical. And now stretch the right side all the way up and over the top. And you won't need your palms flat on the floor. You're just going to bend the elbow at the knee and put your hand on your hip. The way, yeah, you got it just right, Tina. Just Marila, yes, and Sarah, definitely. And great shot, Elena. Thank you for that. Yes to you, April. April, you look ready for a full. You do too, Jonathan. I think you're looking ready for a full there. So you guys, listen, here's what I want you to do. Left hip down and sit up tall. Show me that move. Left hip down and sit up tall. And now with your right elbow on the outside of the left knee, work that across. Use a little leverage there. But push that left hip into the floor as you traction the spine. Sit up tall. And work that left knee across. So it's like the left inner thigh across the right ribs with your spine twisting. You guys look amazing. I'm actually going to take a screenshot. Freeze right there because this is a massive yes moment. And geez, got it. So left hip down, sit up tall and work it across. Left hip down and sit up tall. Yeah, good, Tina. And work it across. Left hip down. April, let me see how far you can get that across. Work it across. Yeah, even more. Yeah, with the hip down and the side body line. That's everything right there. Okay, now April, watch this. Your left foot is sliding forward. Right? Can you see that? That's avoiding the hip. You don't have to stretch the hip when you let the foot slide. So that's why you got to, and you know what, you too, Elena, you see how your foot slid way forward? That's what we're trying not to do. So pull that foot back to the proper position. Don't let it slide. Yeah. Now there's the work in the hip. Elena, just give me a thumbs up with your hand. Can you feel where I'm asking you? Yeah, and everybody else. Jonathan, can you feel a deep stretch when you work that all the way across? Sarah, can you feel a deep stretch when you work it all the way across? Marila, do you feel it stretch? Now, Marila, the hip down while you work it across. The hip down, sit up to work it across, because you guys watch me, and then keep trying that, Tina. Now watch me, I want to show you something. You've got to keep the hip down when you work it across, otherwise you're basically, I want to say, like, not doing anything. Watch this. So if I have that left hip down, sit up tall, and when I work it across, remember, this is what I'm trying to stretch. And if I if I let the hip come up while I work the knee across, I'm not actually stretching anything. I'm just shifting the weight of my body. So I want to push it down and sit up tall, and keep it down to sit up tall to work the knee across. So this hip must stay down, the body weight equally distributed across the pelvis with the spine in traction, the stretch here by virtue of the leverage of the elbow at the knee. Are you guys ready to try the other side now? So you're going to switch directions. This time, most of you are going to be facing your left, and bend your left knee under, and then get the right foot up and over left knee cornerwise, heel touch knee flat on the floor. Yeah, that's better, Jonathan. Thank you. Really foot flat, really shin line super vertical, even and especially bring your hip up if you need to. Just place that foot, stamp that foot flat on the floor. Okay, Elena, yeah, perfect. That way you won't have your back twisting away from me. So that foot flat on the floor with the weight really evenly distributed, and the shin line very, very vertical. And it's natural, by the way, for your sides to be a little different. And so don't even have the same expectation for this side. So what I want you to do is get all the way up and over it, and with your palms flat on the floor and your fingers facing me. And if you're unable to do that, then you can actually just take your left hand on the outside of the right knee to pull it across that way. Yeah, good. Okay, Ava, you're looking beautiful. Right hip down, sit up tall. Only those two moves first. Right hip down. Let me see you like lean into it a little bit, Elena. Like really distribute your weight on your right hip and sit up really tall through your spine. Sit up tall, stomach in, diaphragm in and up, crown stretch up. You got it. And April, that's a yes. Jonathan, let me see you. So with the right hip down, sit up super, just suck it in and stretch it up. Right hip down, sit up tall. Keep doing it repetitively. Good, Sarah. Right hip down, sit up tall. Get up out of it. Right hip down, sit up tall. Let me see Marila. So the shin line. Okay, Marila, keep your foot like that and take the outside of your right knee with your left hand to hold that shin line at vertical. Just take your hand on the knee to hold your shin line at vertical. And now keep your shin line at vertical to push your right hip down and sit up tall. Yes. Did you feel it? Just give me a thumbs up. Did you feel the difference there? That was it, right? Okay, so same for you, Tina. Tina, with your left hand, hold the knee across so that that shin line stays vertical with your foot just stamped on the floor. Flat on, yeah, Tina. Now keep it there. Right hip down, sit up tall. Right hip down, sit up tall. Right hip down, sit up tall, and oh yeah, right there. You feel that, right? Push into the right hip so you're level across the pelvis, suck your stomach in and traction the spine. So the right hip down, sit up tall, yes, yes. Right hip down, sit up tall. I'm gonna call it out 2 more times. Keep working it, Elena. Right hip down, sit up tall, and right hip down, sit up tall. And now what I want you to do is add that work it across function. So with your left elbow, yes, Adam, on the outside of the right thigh, you can just place the hand on the hip there. No, Adam, is your foot sliding? So, or is it just in the right spot there? Don't let it be. Yeah, the front, and you too, Ava, is your ankle in front of the knee? Yeah, don't let it slide. So foot flat, ankle in line with the knee, right hip down, sit up tall, and work it across with the elbow. So with the left elbow, leverage the right knee, yeah. And remember that thing in the groin that you need to relax to let that go across. Now, Jonathan, don't lean back, actually lean into your front hip and sit up super tall as you can. You got to get space in between the bone joints and the spine to be able to get that twisting range of motion. So I'm just gonna call it out repetitively. Right hip down, sit up tall, and work it across. Right hip down, sit up tall, and work it across. Right hip down, sit up tall, and work it across. Now, Tina, really keep gluing the right hip down while you pull the right knee across the left side body. Right hip down, sit up tall, and work it across. I'm just going to keep cueing it a little bit longer. So Adam, let me see how far you can get that knee across with your hip down, and don't round forward. Get your spine really in traction, stomach in, spine straight, right hip down, sit up really tall, and now work that knee across. Yeah, okay, and more. Right hip down, sit up tall, and work it across. Right hip down, sit up tall, work it across. Right hip down, sit up tall, work it across. I'm just going to call it one more time. Right hip, sit up down, sit up tall, and work it across. Hey, Marila, that is looking so much better. Really good. You got that shin line super vertical with the foot flat on the floor. All right, good job, everybody. So what I want to tell you is that, well, first I should ask you, just, you can, how about this? Do you want to unmute yourselves, or just show of hands, thumbs up? I want to know, did you feel what I'm asking right there in the IT band? So yes, Tina, yes, Elena, yes, April, yes, Jonathan, Sarah, yep, Marila, yep, and Adam and Ava. So you with me on this? Perfect. Now let's just expand upon the conversation, because there are some things I want to show you, some straight correlations, because some of you are looking kind of deep. Like, give me a thumbs up if that felt kind of like no big deal, like you can feel what I'm asking, but it's not very challenging. Is there anybody for whom that felt easy enough? I'm going to say for Ava, it probably felt easy enough. Yeah. And so how about anyone else? Is that quite a challenge? Yeah, okay, good. So Adam and Ava, the really good news is that everybody felt a little challenged by that. So that's where they're working. And you can actually start to correct your spine twist accordingly, understanding why things go wrong with the grip and why things go wrong with the foot sliding, and how to get what you need where you need, which is the stretch there in the hip in this posture. But now I want to show you some things. And I think that I want to play with Ava for a minute, if you would be so kind. Would you actually just spotlight yourself for the benefit of everyone else? Now, if you can sit in lotus, because many of you can, then I want you to try it with us, but always with the disclaimer that you are mindful and you are being, I'm going to call it not being greedy. They call it in Ashtanga yoga. And that means don't ask for too much. This is not about forcing anything ever. And by the way, it is a hip posture, not a knee posture, which is what I did address at the forefront. And all of you stated to me that your knees feel pretty good. So having said that, just participate with your own level of comfort. So, and I can see you, Marila, I can see you guys if you're getting into it. Now, so stay with me, Ava, and let's play, shall we? Watch this. So when you're in your lotus, let me show you something. I'm going to sit in lotus as you are, and I'm going to show you how full spine twist is. You can spotlight me for a second. I'm going to show you how full spine twist is spine twist in full lotus. That's all it is. So what I'm doing is this. Let me give you a better view here. I'm just going to sit in lotus. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tip my lotus all the way over. I've started with my right leg in lotus first. And so I'm going to take my lotus and tip it like this. And when I tip my lotus, if I just pull my foot forward and put it in that perfect ankle in line with the kneecap, foot flat on the floor, and shin line vertical, this is the position. This is the setup for full spine twist. And so what I'm gifting you with is the realization that the drills to be able to do full spine twist are identical, and I do mean identical to what we just did in your beginner spine twist, with the exception that you've started from a full lotus, and then you tipped your lotus, placed the foot, and you're not going to compromise this configuration. Stay with me now. You're going to lean back on the back hand, get all the way up and over the top with your palms flat on the floor, and your drill is identical, and it starts the same way. Left hip down, sit up tall. Left hip down, sit up tall. Left hip down, sit up tall. One more. Left hip down, sit up tall. And you can see here that shin line. This knee needs to clear the line that connects my shoulder to my knee. Right here, left hip down, sit up tall, and work it across. So that is full spine twist. That is the relationship. And so first I want to go back to Eva, have her spotlight, and I want to play with you a bit. And then I want to show you what I'm going to call like the bridge between the two. Because I have to tell you that the gap between beginner spine twist and full spine twist, it's vast. There's a big difference between the two postures. And so we have little bridges, little stepping stones that'll help us get from the half to the full. Let me put it that way. So Eva, with your great looking lotus, tip your lotus all the way to your right. Yep, that way. Other way, other way, other way, other way. Yeah, all the way, all the way. And now just with your foot flat on the floor, slide your foot forward. Yeah, now there's your perfect placement for your full spine twist. The front of the ankle in line with the kneecap, the foot on the floor, the shin line vertical. Don't change that, not at all. Just shift your weight, lean on your back hand to get see, I think to me that looks like your right arm, but you might have the same camera technology that reverses rights and lefts. And so the arm that's on the side of Adam, get it all the way up and over the outside of the thigh, all the way up and over, and try to get your palms flat on the floor with your fingers front facing. And now you're gonna see why I showed you the drill. Now listen, front hip down, sit up tall. Front hip down, sit up tall. Okay, everybody see that shin line getting really diagonal? So put your knee in your hand and work it across. So hold that shin line at the vertical and push your hip down. Yeah, thank you, Adam. Push your hip down, sit up tall through your spine, and start to work that across. Hip down, sit up tall, work it across. Hip down, sit up tall. Now, Eva, freeze there. Everybody, have a peek at the line that connects her front shoulder to her front knee on the floor, and see how the knee needs to be all the way over the other side of that line. And what she needs is the stretch in the IT band of the front hip. And so this is why I showed you this. So incredible. Thank you. So go ahead and put me back on Spotlight, and I want to show you kind of incrementally some connections between some postures that you might or might not have had the realization. And I think that in the interest of time, I'm going to keep this specific to our Ardha Matsyendrasana and our Purna Matsyendrasana, which is that half twist and the full twist, and then the steps in between. Because there might be something here. So, for example, I think that Jonathan, I think that April, I think that Sarah, I think that all of you are going to be able to start to try this. There's a posture that we have in our intermediate and our advanced series, and it's called life pose. Now, let me show you some relationships. Do you know that one, Elena? I saw you kind of, you looked a little overwhelmed when I said it. I want to show you just some step by step. And I want to show you how the postures are exactly the same, and then some tiny sequencing that can take place along the way. So watch this. Here's the setup of the lower body of your half spine twist, which is the only thing we've done so far. So watch this. This is the lower body configuration of, I gotta get a mat under my ankle here on the floor. That's better. Here's the lower body configuration of your half spine twist. Now, the only difference, as Eva just felt, between the half spine twist and the full spine twist is that this bottom foot needs to be in lotus. Instead of underneath here, instead of just bending the knee underneath, we bend the knee on top in lotus. And so this is the setup for the full. Now, this is the half, this is the full. But the difference between the two is vast. And so the posture that we do in intermediate advanced series called life pose, it does have the leg in half lotus, but rather than the foot crossing all the way over with the hip needing to be down and the knee all the way across, life pose is just here, the lower body configuration. So you actually have the knee in line with the hip in your lotus, the knee in line with the heel, with the toes in line with the knee. So I'm not actually asking you to do life pose, which by the way would be the knee in the armpit, and you would say knee down, hip down, spine up. So this would be your life. But what I am going to say is that you can actually wrap the arm around the leg and hold on to it this way so that you can have knee down, hip down, sit up tall, and you can start to pull this knee in. That'll move toward working it across. Now, if this is life pose, if this is halfway in between half spine twist and full spine twist, we can even creep up on it just millimeter by millimeter a little more. What would make your life pose a little deeper is to lessen the gap between the foot and the knee. So if this was life pose, then the foot closer to the knee with the hip down, this would be a deeper lower body configuration of life pose. And then when you take this over the top, now you're in your full spine twist. So a progression that I just showed you is from the lower body configuration of beginner spine twist, half spine twist, and then you're going to take the bottom knee in lotus, but the top foot wide. So here would be a life pose. This is the actual posture, looks like this. It's a preparation for full spine twist. I like to do it here so that you can pull this knee in and start to get the stretch in the hip. And then you can deepen that just a little bit by closing the gap here. And then eventually you'll take that over the top in the form of this is full spine twist. So that is a very clear, I think, depiction of exactly how each posture progresses into the next and into the next, and what the differences are in the postures. Yeah? So can I have you guys, yes, unmute yourselves, and let's have some interaction and some exchange.
So simple, Kim.
Yeah, if you understand it well, you can explain it very, very simply. It's a progression, and I can show you exactly how to start where you're at and get to where you want to be, millimeter by millimeter by millimeter. So, you know, I don't think that we have the realization of the relationships and the simplicity in these postures, because we are told that life is a bridge between half spine twist and full, but has anyone ever actually really been, you know, shown you exactly what that means? So thank you for saying that. What I want to know before we get into the bigger conversation about that is, did you guys all feel what I was asking you to feel? I want to hear from all of you. Did you feel what I was asking you to feel in the hip? The importance of getting that stretch in the hip, the importance of tractioning through the spine, and the realization that when your foot slides, whether it slides forward, whether you lose the diagonal, whether you get the diagonal shin line, you lose the vertical, whether you crouch in the posture, these are all ways of avoiding that tight hip rather than getting the stretch in the hip. Is that part pretty clear?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then did you guys all feel that stretch in the hip by cementing that foot-knee relationship and really getting the hip down and pulling it across to get the stretch right where you need it?
Yes, like the cement was in my hip though, as opposed to me posture.
Yeah, you know what? I love that you said that. Listen, Tina's word selection was extraordinary.
Yeah.
The cement was in my hip, she says, right? And what I am equating that to is an experience of connective tissue, the band of fascia, right? That is what needs to stretch. And when it's really tight, it actually is the experience of like cement, not like, oh, by the way, Tina, is Masterlab your home studio?
No, I'm in Texas.
Oh my gosh, thank you for tuning in from Texas. Incredible. Okay, so which is the reason to you know, to practice in the heat. And by the way, I want to say something else. It's another reason to do like yin yoga. Long holds on deep stretches targets connective tissue. And that's what I'm going to call what you need, where you need, when you need, which is that deep stretch where it feels like cement, right? So do it slowly and hold it for 2 or 3 or 4 minutes at a time. I'm going to say like a yin style approach. Incredible. Thank you. Anyone else? Please tell me what that is for you. Could I hear from each of you?
Yeah, I have absolutely no pain in the knee, but I do start to feel the ankle if I'm holding life for maybe more than 10, 15 seconds.
Thank you for saying that. Can I show you a couple of things?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, watch this. That's okay. That is very, very common. And I think we can clear it up kind of like immediately with a little bit of realization. The first thing is that many people are treating their hip posture like a knee posture, which is why I felt my way around to see if I needed to address that. Your knees are fine. When you go into your lotus, you want to pull the knee toward the shoulder to place the foot. Now, watch me, Jonathan, because here's this one little thing that goes wrong. Oh, I want to tell you this too. When you're getting into that sequence of 84 postures, we call it the advanced series, there are like 9 lotus postures in a row. When you first start doing that series, what'll happen for someone who's new to lotus is that you'll wrap into a lotus that is not very deep. You'll do one posture and then you'll exit the lotus to get the flush. And then you'll wrap into another lotus that's not very deep and you'll do one posture and then you'll exit it to get the flush. And then you'll do that like 9 times. Hang on one second, you guys. Would you be willing to grab a charger for me? Because my red battery just came on. Thank you. And now once you get really open and deep, your lotus is deep and you can wrap into it once and you can just go all out. You're in your lotus for 9 postures in a row. And the ankles hurting are one of the first thing that happens and easiest to fix. So watch this, and then I want to see, oh, before I show you, I want to see you do it. Jonathan, will you please feature you?
So here, one leg's always fine. And then, I mean, I'm fine, but within about
okay, you can stop it. Freeze. Now look down. Look down at your right ankle. It's your right ankle that hurts.
Yeah.
So watch this. Yeah, I know. So watch this, and then I guess Eva, you can feature me, and you guys. Hopefully, my battery is not just going to drop. I'm in the red, but a charger is on the way. So watch this.
Okay.
When you knee to the chest to place the foot, and then you go to your lotus, and you're saying, so far, so good. Thank you so much. All right, and then you pull the other over. When you pull the second one over, this is a tighter, then I don't want to say the word tighter. I want to say this is a greater challenge because you're having to take this one all the way over the first one, which is a deeper stretch on the left lateral ligament. And what happens in the process of pulling this one over is that this foot slides out. And now quite literally, you can see the shape of my ankle is really being tweaked. And that is the source of the soreness in the ankle. So when you fold into your lotus, and remember, start by bringing the knee to the chest so that you are moving from the hip, not the knee. When you place the foot, take the ankle bone and put it on the belly of the thigh. Literally support the ankle bone on the femur. Now, it doesn't have to be that high. You're not going to start with your deepest lotus, and so it's possible that it would be a little bit lower, right? But the ankle bone itself supported here on the belly of the thigh at the femur. So watch this. Keep it in this position, maybe even hold it, so that when you externally rotate and bring the left leg over the right, this one has not slipped. And you can see that my ankle is still supported by the femur, so it hasn't slid out to this position where you can see that it's not supported by the femur. It's actually being tweaked. So Jonathan, can we spotlight you and can I see you do that?
Sure.
All right, let's see that.
That makes sense. It's not the edge of the foot, it's the ankle bone.
Absolutely,
So-
and that's right. Yeah, let's see it.
Going
Can you
in.
guys spotlight?
and
Oh,
then-
thank you. Yep, there it is.
Yeah. to the
Now
middle
be
of the
careful
femur.
because your right knee is not going all the way down to the floor, so be careful bringing the
Right.
left over. Mhm.
And then
Be careful.
that feels better. It's still, yeah.
Yeah, so right now your ankle is being supported on the thigh. And
Yeah.
you know what I recommend for you? I recommend that you do, again, I'm actually gonna refer to a yin posture. It's actually it's something that we also do in our intermediate and advanced series called spider, but I'm gonna recommend a long hold on it, like literally 5-10 minutes. So let's just play, shall we? So I want you to watch me. And I want you to try it. And anyone that is sitting in lotus very comfortably is invited to try it as well. But again, no getting hurt on my watch. And so always mindfully and only as you're ready for it. So not only am I going to ask you to try a spider, Jonathan, but I'm going to ask you to do what I call drop into your spider cobra style.
Okay.
I speak my own language. And so I have to show you what that means. Watch me. So first I'm going to get into a lotus. So again, knee to the chest, ankle is supported by the femur here. And when you get into your lotus, I'm gonna ask you to come up onto your knees, and I want you to drop your hands in front of you with your arms straight, and I want you to do nothing other than this. Drop your hips down, staying propped up by straight arms. And so watch me.
Ooh, okay.
And just release, relax, and let the hips come down. And you're going to feel a very, very, very deep stretch in your hips. And when you do come forward into spider, pull your ribs forward to lie down in your spider. And what I'm going to look at in that position is whether there is any gap here between your hips and the floor. And what I want you to do then is spend time relaxing in this position. So let me see you just ease your way into that. So let's spotlight Jonathan, please. Okay, good. And can you give me a side view?
Sure. So
When you get into your lotus, you'll be able to scoot back a little bit. So the
do you
ankle is supported.
Do you always do the same leg first?
Oh, I'm super happy that you asked that. And I'm going to say, since we're talking about spine twist, the answer right now has to be no. But I'm going to show you afterwards why. Okay, now just drop into that. Yeah, keep your arms straight. Keep your arms straight. Stay propped up and just drop your hips down. Think of even, nope. Keep your arms straight. Arms straight.
Ooh.
Yeah. You feel that, right? I want you to even think of a back bend. Think of relaxing your low back and letting the psoas stretch. Can you feel that? Now, why am I asking him to do that, everybody? Because I started by telling you that tree pose is a standing balancing half lotus prep. Oh, good. So Ava, keep working that. I'm going to come to you afterwards. And then I told you that that's a hip posture, not a knee posture. And so I'm asking him to actually address this on the level of the hips, not on the level of the knees. And now when you do go down, Jonathan, pull your ribs forward to go down and try to minimize that gap between the hips and the floor. Yeah, that's so good. Jonathan, you can just prop yourself up on your forearms here. Prop yourself up on your forearm. Yeah, and now pull your ribs forward and drop your hips down. Yeah. Now you're feeling that in the hips, right? Yeah. Okay, now wait a minute. How about your ankles? So your feet turned so that the soles of your feet are on the carpet.
Not as bad in the ankles. Right ankle a little bit, but I could hold it a couple minutes.
Good answer. All right, so Jonathan, start doing that. Okay, now before I move to Ava, did I answer your question?
Yes.
And more, right? Okay, now Ava, can I see you do it, darling? And then actually after Ava, I want to go to Sarah. So Ava, you're up. Spotlight Ava. Okay, Ava, scoot. Oh, thank you. Perfect. That's better. All right. So stay propped up on straight arms and think of even giving yourself a little back bend and drop your hips down to the floor. Yeah. And now spend a minute here just paying attention to softening at the psoas. Let the hips stretch. Yeah, that's so good. Let the hips come down. So I know you're feeling that on the level of the hips, right? Yeah, because lotus is a hip posture. It's not a knee posture. And so that's why I'm asking you to experience that. Yep, you can come down to your forearms by pulling the ribs forward. And, let's see, yeah, see if you can get your hips flat. Oh, you look amazing. That is fantastic. And as you practice it, you will just slightly turn the ankles so that the soles of the feet are flat on the carpet. Yeah, no, that's fine. You're fine. As a matter of fact, really beautiful. Fantastic. All right. So can I see Sarah now? Adam, would you please spotlight Sarah? And Sarah, I just want to give me a thumbs up. Do you feel pretty comfortable with this?
Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah, except I have the same thing as Jonathan.
Okay.
So I'll come in, making sure
Ankle on the femur. Yeah. Got that. Perfect.
hold my foot here.
Yeah. Okay.
It feels
Perfect.
really nice, but then I go to do anything with this, and everything just slips out.
Okay. Thank you for saying that. That's why I told Jonathan and now you to spend time there on long holds and deep stretches in the form of this that I'm teaching you, is because if you can really get your lotus deep, this is how you get your lotus deeper, by spending time treating your hip posture like a hip posture, by doing a long hold on a deep stretch in the lower body aspect of spider.
Right.
So do, like Jonathan and Sarah and Ava, do spider for like 5 to 10 minutes. At some point, it doesn't matter how long you can do it. You can literally watch TV, in that position. So Sarah, go ahead.
I was just wondering, is there any muscles that within this that you want to contract to hold?
Okay. Okay, yes and no. What I've asked you to do in spider, when I say long holds on deep stretches, I don't want you in contraction at all, because yin is a complete state of relaxation in the target area. Now, having said that, sometimes I deepen this position by squeezing my butt and stretching my knees toward the back wall. And the function of that combination will lessen any gap that you have in between the hinge of the hips and the floor. So that's something you can do just to kind of move into it and work into it. Now, having said that there's a different answer for you when you're doing a yang style practice, because after all, what would the deepest lotus be? The knees closer and closer and closer. And so that's a function of engaging your inner thighs to pull the knees together. And that, by the way, starts to involve bandhas and pelvic floor in your mountain posture. So there are a lot of different ways to contract in lotus, but not in what I'm showing you. I want you to relax in this position.
Okay.
So now, Sarah, give me a side view, flip to the side, it doesn't matter which way, and now come up onto your knees. Yeah, and scoot your knees back for me, just so you're centered on the camera. Yeah, and now with your arms straight, prop yourself up on straight arms and drop your hips all the way down. Yeah, now hang out there, Sarah, hang out there. And concentrate on relaxing and letting your hips come down. Like, relax your low back and let your hips stretch. Hang out there and feel them soften. Wow. I'm going to come back to you in a minute, Tina. Hang out there and let them soften. Let them soften and stretch and relax, and it'll deepen. So you could literally just hang out there for a while. And then when you start to come down, pull your ribs forward to come down on your forearms. Let me see you do that. And then let me see how big is the gap in between your hips and the floor. Yeah, so now you're going to hang out here for a while. And again, with the feet in the position where the soles of the feet are on the floor. And Sarah, this is a way that you could kind of like work into it by squeezing your bum and stretching your knees back. So can I see you make that contraction? And you'll feel the function is that it lessens the gap in between your hips and the grass. Can you feel that? Yeah, fantastic. Is there anything you want me to know about that?
Well, my right ankle's coming out.
Yeah, okay. So again, it's that interplay The more you do this, the deeper your hips are. The deeper your hips are, the less the ankle's going to slide out.
Yeah.
It's just an interplay. But understand that when you're doing a yang style practice in lotus, place that ankle on the belly of the quad, on the femur bone, so that it's not being tweaked. You could just very clearly see it's primarily a positioning thing. And the more you're stretching your hips, because lotus is a hip posture, the less pressure there will be for the ankle to slide out and get tweaked.
Right.
So did I answer it completely?
Yeah, totally.
Can I go to Tina? Thank you. So Ava, can you show me Tina, please? Tina, can you show me what you were doing? And by the way, just so you guys know, after Tina, I'm going to ask if I can see from Elena. So Tina, right now it's you. After Elena, Marila. So please keep me on track there, because I don't want to take too much of your time, but I want to make sure I get to lay some love on everyone. Okay, ready, Tina? So we'll stop at Tina. Show me where you're at.
Well, I was paying attention and I was trying to copy. Also, making sure that I have the ankle on the femur of the left hip. And then I was remembering to grab onto it, which is kind of hard though, because I was trying to bring up this one too. Now, I've got them both.
Tina. So Ava, could you spotlight Tina, or did you on me? She's on gallery. And so Tina, show me what it looks like if you turn to the side and just do what Jonathan and Sarah and Ava just did. That's what I saw you trying, and scoot back for me, just so you don't move out of the camera. Still to the side, but I want to be able to see your whole body in the camera. Yeah, so come up on your knees.
Okay, but I'm on still, I go too far.
Just scoot back now. Scoot back, 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 back. Just walk on your knees to scoot back. There we are. Thank you. That's so much better for me. And are you able to scoot back a little more? Now, all I want you to do is stay on your straight arm. Stay propped up where you are. And let me just see you try to get your hips forward. Yeah, see what I mean? I know, right? So hang on here. Yeah, so now don't bounce. Just think of almost like a back bend, letting your hips drop forward and down. Okay, so Tina, this is where your time is well spent. So right now, everybody watch this. Tina, right now, when you try this, always careful with your knees, always. I'm gonna want you to just let your hips come down and stay propped up on your straight arm, so you're getting kind of like that back bend. And so after you do that for 2 or 3 minutes, then go ahead and let me see you come forward on your forearms. Pull your ribs forward and come down to your forearms. And let's see if I can see, I'm not sure with the camera angle, how much of a gap in between your hips and the floor. Let me see what that's gonna be.
I don't think I can come on my forearms because they're stone.
I see, there you are. And if you were to pull forward, how far down could you come? Okay, everybody. So you're able to see enough to see an appreciable gap right here. I'm gonna call that, Tina, would you confirm for me that that's about, I'm gonna call it 4 or 5 inches between your hips and the floor. So for Tina, I wanna show you a couple of choices. Can you come back out of that very, 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 very mindfully? And then you can just come back to seated to unfold your lotus. Okay, so yeah, it'll be safe to come back to seated to unfold your lotus. So for Tina, you know what would be extraordinary? Is like beach pose. So Ava, could you spotlight me for a sec? And so Tina, so you can do it because you can do lotus, but when you drop into my cobra style spider and you're like that far off the floor at the hips, we can do better. We can do it one at a time. And let me tell you something, and right now I'm teaching you a big picture concept, and this is a universal rule across the board when it comes to all asana. When you do one side at a time, it is not as deep as doing both sides at once. And what Tina just did is what I'd call both sides at once in the form of lotus. So I would have Tina do beach pose. And that's basically one side at a time. So again, Adam and Ava, we're connecting the dots and making it so crystal clear and simple, right? When I say it that way, it seems so obvious, but otherwise it might not occur to you. So watch Tina, watch a beach pose, it's a one-sided spider, basically. Watch this. So I'll have you maybe start from standing with a tree pose where you bring the knee, place the foot, and then come down to your knees. So basically I started from tree, and now I'm just gonna come forward and shoot one leg behind me. And now I've got one at a time, and I can pull the ribs forward, down on my forearms. To come out of it, come back up onto your hands and knees to release very safely, mindfully, and then start from standing to do the other side. So Tina, that is my recommendation for you. Start with that. Tina, do like 5-minute sets. And you have to really relax. Don't bounce, don't push, relax where you feel the stretch. All right, did I say that Elena's next?
Yeah, but thanks. I can't do the full lotus. I thought when you asked me, I understood that it's like one foot, but not both. So
that's the reason to do exactly what I just showed Tina.
Yeah.
So would you be willing to show me that?
Sure, I'll try. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
You got this, I got you. So can we spotlight so I can have a nice big picture? So Elena, start by actually bringing your knee toward your chest, just like a proper tree pose. Oh, good. And what I want you to do is place the foot. And then if you're able to safely come down to your knees. So hands on the floor, come down to your knees. And now, yeah, you're just gonna basically lie down on that. Stretch forward. Now Elena, your right knee is going to be behind you, not in front of you. So you'll be coming forward and your right knee will be behind you, basically in line with your left knee, even though your left leg is extended.
Is this?
Okay, now the foot has to be back in a tree pose.
Like this?
No, watch me. So your foot will be in tree pose position. So watch the placement of the foot. If I am... I bring the knee to the chest to place the foot. So, and then the knee down. So, Elena, are you able to do tree pose like this?
Yeah.
So from here, you're going to you can keep holding on to the foot. And from here, you're just going to very carefully come.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean.
So your foot is still in the tree position.
Yeah, okay.
And with your foot still in the tree position, you can just lie down, come forward and shoot that leg back so that you're in basically just lying down front facing in tree pose. And yeah, go ahead and spotlight Elena for me again. And I hope I'm going to be able to see that your camera's tipped up quite a bit. So now try to come forward. You're going to shoot your left leg back, but keep your right foot where it is, up in the tree placement. Very mindfully. Oh, I think the foot might have come out. Yeah, okay, good. So the foot up in the tree position and your knee back behind you. So let me show you a small adjustment. Watch this. What you're doing right now is a bit of what will I call that? A bit of a pigeon. You're doing it a little bit more like this, but the knee needs to be actually behind you.
Oh, okay.
So not the knee in front of you here, the knee behind you here.
Yeah.
And okay, that gives us such a beautiful talking point. So let me see you try it. And then I'm going to tell you why that is.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
okay,
let's spotlight Elena.
I don't want to take up people's time.
Oh, Elena, you're the reason we're here, darling. Let's see it.
Okay.
Yes to this. Come down to your hands and knees. And now, Elena, swing your right knee back behind you when you come forward with your upper body. Oh, yes now. Elena, yes. So your right knee behind you and come forward with your upper body. Yes. That's where you'll start.
Oh, okay.
Now, yes. Oh, believe me. So Ava, spotlight me. I want to show Elena why that matters. So Elena, what we're trying to get is a stretch in the hip. Remember that? Because your lotus is a hip posture, not a knee posture. And if your hip is, if your knee is in front of you in your stretch like this, you're actually closing at the hip. You're not stretching it. So what we need is for this to be stretched, basically stretched. And the way that we stretch it is by getting it behind us and laying down on it. So that you're, I should show you from the other side, so that you are long. This is not a stretch, but to get it behind you and lie down. Now, this long line is the stretch that we're wanting. But I want you to be very, very mindful with your knees, okay? Because I'm unsure of your practice experience. So I never want you to do anything that's, you know, asking for too much. Okay? Thank you for your willingness, and thank you for trying that. And then let me see, Marla, you ready? Show me where you're at.
Okay.
Okay.
Where are you? Are you in Canada?
Yes, yes, I am. I'm so close to Adam and Eva. I want to call them my home studio.
Oh, beautiful. Fantastic. Thank you for joining today. And thank you for supporting them. Okay, so let me see what you're working on.
Dear, okay, I will try this. I didn't even try it during that whole time. We'll see if I can.
It's okay. Now, if you're unaccustomed to lotus, I'm not asking you to try to force it. So why don't you do the beach pose?
Okay.
And just do the one at a time.
Okay, good idea.
So just start with a tree pose, knee to the chest, place the foot, and you can keep that foot in your hand while you come down to the floor on your knees. Yeah, and now put your right knee on the floor, and then you're gonna bring your upper body forward and the right knee goes back with your foot in the same tree pose position. So you're getting a deep stretch on the right hip. Yeah, that's the right direction to go in. Let's see here. Yeah, now when you're in that position, you'll be able to just gently ease the right knee back and then lessen the gap between your right hip and the floor. So what you're doing then is basically if tree pose is a standing balancing half lotus, a standing balancing lotus prep, now you're just doing a lotus prep minus the standing balancing. And so you can stand there, you can do that for, 5 minutes. You can do it in tree, which is yang. You can do it in beach, which is yin. You have options of ways to get to the hips.
Okay, also, and I know I should know by now, but what do I do with the arms when do I keep them?
When you're in beach pose, you have some options. For the sake of this, you can just prop yourself up on forearms. If you were doing the spider version, your hands would be in reverse prayer behind your back in namaskar. So yeah, for the sake of these drills, I'm really just trying to get to what you need in your hips. And that's now on the psoas and the IT band. Okay. So now we've gone kind of all the way around the hips, right?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me see. Ava, check. Tina, check. Mariela, check. Elena, check. Jonathan, check. Sarah, check. April, you're up. Hi, darling. And April, you can unmute yourself so we can talk while you're doing it.
Sorry.
Got it.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can. Perfect.
Okay, great.
So April, are you comfortable with your lotus?
My knees are feeling a little tender. They're usually very flexible. Maybe I just wasn't warmed up enough. But I'm pretty good in my lotus and spider, so I could give that a try.
You got it. Yep. Oh, wow. Yeah, you're clearly very comfortable. Yeah, hang there. Do that, April. Prop yourself up on the straight arms and let your hips come down and get a deep stretch in your hips. I kind of like no matter how deep you are, you'll be able to feel a deep stretch here. Just relax your low back and let it compress and try to get that stretch in the psoas on the front side. Doesn't that feel amazing?
Yes.
Yeah. So what I know is that if you spend time here, it kind of softens and deepens and softens and deepens. And then when you're ready to come down onto your forearms, you'll pull your ribs forward to go forward. And let's see how that gap is. Oh yeah, April, definitely. You can hang out there.
Feels so good. So
Yeah, it does feel so good. Fantastic. All right, so that's a good one for you then. And then let me get back to my gallery and make sure that I got, so Joanne, I know you're there. Joanne, can you actually unmute? I know not camera, but can you unmute?
Hi.
Hi. So Joanne, what have you been working on while we're doing, by the way, Joanne is from Western Canada and she is at the workplace right now, hence no camera. And thank you, Joanne. And what are you working on right now, Joanne? What are you doing while we're doing this?
Exactly what you were doing. So that is a great posture in terms of opening up the hips. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent, Joanne. Well, I wish that you could grace us with your demonstration, but I understand, and I definitely appreciate you being here supporting Masterlab in Edmonton, Canada.
Yes,
So,
thank you.
any final questions, contributions, anything else? It's such a pleasure to have this time with you. Thank you for this. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for your dedication to your practice. Thank you for your support of Masterlab. And I am available to you and I'm easy to find. And I will tell you that I'm on social media, obviously, Facebook and Instagram as Kim Tang Yoga and Kim Tang yoga@gmail.com. And I am literally in the process of creating the website that will be a massive platform for the worldwide sessions, the spine, all the spine, the KT drills, the collaborative Q&As, the breath work, and other things too that are going to be announced soon. Oh, I also want to tell you guys, Ava and Adam, that I happen to be the head coach for IYSF for the North American continent. And IYSF is going to be having an event and I will be sharing the details with you very soon publicly. And so I love you guys and keep up the good work. Stay, well. And I love you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was great.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
Take care, you guys.
Break down advanced postures and make them so simple. Like,
Yeah.
break things down.
I see.
Yeah, it's because advanced ones can be quite intimidating. I think we feel that sometimes, and when you just break it down like that, it makes it so clear, and it's like, I get it. Like I said, building up, which thank you always for your insight on that, and thank you so much for doing this with us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for the privilege of letting me support you, and I mean that very sincerely.
Thank you so much, Adam and Eva, and thanks, Kim, for the feedback, for everything. That was awesome.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Elena. Keep up your practice.
I will, now that I can join online classes with Adam and Eva.
I do this every Friday, by the way. I do this every Friday. So, and next Friday is April. So my teachings are vast and they're affordable and they are for global time zones. And so just, check it out. Contact me if you want to know what I'm doing and where to find me. And I'm available to you in any variety of capacities.
Thank you very much.
Take care, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Thanks, Kim. That was really, really great.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And April, now you know a lot more what to expect for next week, right? So April, we'll have like a little different spin. It's always twist, but twist is low back, twist is hips, twist is knees, and it's always twist. But you know what we'll do for you, April? I'll introduce the 3 new twists that have the bind in the back, which is far more about the shoulders